Hi, and welcome to the C-Suite Edge. I'm your host, John Light. I'm also the founder and CEO of Sabretooth Recruiting, and today I've brought Logan MacGray with me here. Logan, thanks so much for joining us on the C-Suite Edge.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No, happy to. And you know, sometimes I kind of, dance around trying to do an introduction for people, but sometimes it's just best if folks give us a little rundown of where they're from, the path they've been on their career, and what they do today. So I was hoping if you could give us a quick 90-second overview of Logan MacGray and what you're working on there at Stonecrop Advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm president of Stonecrop Wealth Advisors. We started the company back in 2020. It was my dad and I were working for a larger firm and rolled out of the larger firm and started Stonecrop Wealth Advisors August 1st of 2020 during right in the midst of COVID, so not the best time to start a business, but we made it. Been in the finance industry for 15-ish years. I've been married for about 13 years, have 4 kids, and enjoying both the personal side and being a husband and father, and on the business side, leading a successful business.
Awesome. You know, and look, that's not an easy balancing act. I don't care what people say, whether balancing family and tending to those needs and the responsibilities there at the same time, building a business, being a small, medium business owner, man, it's a load. And I appreciate when folks do it, and you're doing it conscientiously. Speaking of conscientiously, I'm really curious, and I ask this question of every guest I have on, because I think it's important, and Logan, I'd pose it to you. You know, when you look at the spectrum of things that you do for your clients, what do you think is probably the biggest problem you help people solve?
Yeah, it's a great question. We kind of come into each different client relationship dynamically and kind of ready to meet clients where they are, but kind of the general theme that we work on is helping clients realize that money is more of a means to an end, a tool to be used, and not the end in and of itself. Essentially, we don't want people to focus on the money and think, what's the greatest potential return I could get? Because we think that actually provides a lot of clients with a lot of anxiety. I missed out on this investment opportunity, or I shouldn't have been in this investment opportunity. Whereas we try to help people stick with kind of an overall asset allocation that just best helps them achieve their goals. We work with both. Or we work with individuals, we work with families and institutions, and in all 3 scenarios, those different types of people, or on the institution side, type of company, have a mission in their life, and we really think that money needs to be used to support that mission, and in doing that, we're kind of reducing that anxiety. Kind of one of the practical ways was. We had a client come in. She was a potential client, and we met with her, and she had recently lost her husband and went through kind of the fact that her financial plan looked great, and it was helping. We were going to help her achieve the variety of goals that she had, things that she wanted money that she wanted to leave people, trips that she wanted to take, how much longer she wanted to work, and she was not the individual in the relationship that really focused on the finances. So she let us know early on, the way that you'll know that you're successful is if I'm no longer afraid. And at the end of that first year, we went through our kind of a typical 1-year review and letting her know where she was, and how her goals were still achievable based on the different results, both how she was saving and how we were investing. And at the end of the meeting, she stopped us and she said, "I just want to remind you, I just want to let you know, I'm not afraid anymore." So we were just able to provide that peace of mind by giving her a complete picture of her finances and just helping her realize that she was going to be okay.
Man, that had to be a good feeling to hear that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we do this to provide for our families, and it's the way that we make money, but it's great that we can kind of mix making money for ourselves, but also helping people.
Yeah, no, fantastic, and kudos. I mean, that's, I come from a background where my wife today and I each lost our first spouses to cancer. And, I remember when we first met, and she was in a position where they had engaged with a planner and set things up, knowing that things were not likely to turn out well relative to her first husband's health. They had set up the finances in such a way that the status quo, lifestyle, the home, and all this other stuff could survive and deliver normalcy to the family, and as normal as you could get. It's already been disrupted, it's traumatized and everything else. So there's a tremendous amount of value in, I think, this idea of taking a potential problem, a current or a potential problem, off someone's plate to offset and alleviate that anxiety that comes with, oh crud, what's next? Because that's a horrible feeling to not be prepared for what's next. So I would imagine, Logan, and correct me if I'm wrong, a big chunk of what you do, it's financial analysis and planning and all these sorts of things. A big chunk of what you do has to be kind of psychological, like any sales process, in terms of getting to know someone, having empathy, walking a mile in their shoes, and kind of getting ahead of the game and how to help them. So how do you guys navigate that with your clients? The let's say the soft side of things versus the hard side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we kind of, an analogy that we kind of use is that within one's financial life, we kind of look at ourselves as the flight attendant. I'm a little bit of a nervous flyer myself, and anytime that we hit turbulence, I'm always looking at the flight attendants, and if they're not freaking out, I figure
it's going to be okay.
Nothing seriously wrong. So we kind of think that way about like market corrections, Great Recession, COVID. When we've seen big market downturns and we start to get calls, am I still going to be okay? Am I still going to be able to retire when I want? Am I still going to be able to send my kids to college? And just kind of walking them through the fact that this has happened before. We've stressed the plan for this, and everything's going to be okay. And just having that. Actually, one of our corporate virtues is calmness. Having that calmness about us, because when we found that when we, as long as we're not freaking out, people typically think, oh, okay, they're not freaking out, I shouldn't freak out, I'm going to be okay. What they've done for us kind of provides that peace of mind. So yeah, there's definitely kind of a psychological aspect there, and then also just kind of the psychological aspect of helping people do things in a disciplined approach, with a disciplined approach. When people do call because they think that even earlier this year when tariffs were announced and immediately the market quickly fell, you get a number of calls saying, oh, should I get out of the market, and just reminding them of that disciplined approach of no, and actually you've been saving on a monthly basis, keep doing that. It just means that we're potentially buying things at a lower price than we were 2 weeks ago, and that we've planned for this. We've run statistics based on this. You're still in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody needs some reassurance once in a while, because the markets and a lot of this stuff, when you look around the world and here in the U.S., it's about numbers, but a lot of it's about what people feel in the moment. If they feel a lack of confidence or uncertainty, we tend to make less than optimum decisions, if that makes sense. So keeping people off the ledge of putting themselves in a less than optimum state for making those decisions, I think is a pretty important function. I don't know how you quantify the value of it, though.
Yeah, there are probably different ways. We, as much as we try to do that, there are times where even during COVID, the day, I think it was March 23rd, the day that the market hit its bottom, somebody called and said, "Don't try to talk me out of it. It's going to provide me with more peace of mind if I go 100% to cash." And so he did for like a year or two, so missed out on all of the recovery. So in that case, you can kind of quantify it, but he went in eyes wide open. He was retired and he had plenty of money and knew that he he would be fine even in cash. So kind of in that situation, it worked out, but you could kind of quantify there. If you had kept that disciplined approach of staying in the market in such a manner where your plan would still work out well, your portfolio could probably be at X instead of Y. So you can quantify it there, but I think in the end, the emotion did kind of win in that he felt a peace of mind there, knowing that he was going to be fine either way. So yeah, the emotions are hard to get over sometimes, but overall, it's kind of coaching them through the emotion. In the end.
Let me throw a curveball at you. I mean, not at you. I'll try and keep it over the plate. Every time I think about it or I watch a baseball game, I look back at it now and I think, well, it's a highly inappropriate movie for teenagers. But I remember watching Major League. Had Tom Berenger and some other people in it. And I remember Bob Uecker is playing himself as the announcer. They're playing the Yankees, and he talks about this one pitcher, and he says, this so-and-so, he's so mean he threw at his own kid in a father-son game. And I kind of sit back. And I said, let me throw a curveball at you. I'm not throwing it at you. I'm going to keep it over the plate. But, a lot of people have questions, and I've interviewed a couple of people in the space about, individual investors or maybe family investors looking at crypto and things of that nature. And I know there's been a push in the current administration to kind of bring some of this more to the forefront and to keep the country on the cutting edge of things. But I'd really like to know if you could share some of your insights, and if you look at it from a financial planning standpoint. And again, I hear a recurring theme, discipline, regimen, staying the course. And I think there's tremendous value in that. Just like if you exercise and train your entire life, you're probably going to be more fit and live a longer life than somebody who's a couch potato or is very erratic or sporadic about when they try to take care of themselves. But what are your thoughts on crypto for investment and that sort of thing?
Yeah, when it comes to crypto, typically, along with other types of assets, we'd recommend a diversified approach. So if you feel like you want to have an exposure to crypto, we would recommend no more than a 5 to 10% allocation of an overall portfolio, just because we value diversification. I was talking to somebody yesterday who called just to talk about our services and kind of what type of advice we give, and he let me know that right now his thought, and this isn't a client, this is essentially the first call I had with him. He wants to pull his whole 401k out and put it 100% in Bitcoin. And I just let him know that's a very non-diversified position, and there are times where Bitcoin has taken large falls. And so if you're 100% exposed there, and you want to do something in 3 years and Bitcoin is at a low, then you're going to be in trouble. So kind of overall, our approach is, it can be part of a diversified portfolio. It has shown moments of non-correlation, but that you should remain diversified so that you're not kind of exposing yourself to too much risk, especially in times where you're trying to achieve a goal. That's been kind of our philosophy on that.
No, I think it's prudent. I mean, the number one rule, I think, for everybody who does advisory and planning ought to be, don't lose what you start with. Don't lose your principal. Don't have that go away. It's funny because it's football season, right? And I'm talking to my 2 youngest boys who are playing in the 8th grade, and I point out to them that it's not necessarily the most talented team that wins. It's a lot of times, in fact, probably most of the time, it's the team that makes the fewest mistakes. So, you take what you can of the upside and manage the downside as best you can, minimize your mistakes, your negative plays, that sort of thing, and you're in a better place than probably 98% of the people out there. So I think it's prudent. And besides with crypto, you have Bitcoin and then you have everything else. Nothing else carries the kind of cachet it does. But there's a lot of options out there, and it's kind of like looking at speculating in certain commodities, I suppose, to a degree. Some exposure is fine. Lots is not very prudent, if you consider there could be a pull down. So let me ask you this, because I like the way that you talk about this, Logan. I think it's prudent. I think there's people out there, if they're, thinking long term, they probably ought to reach out and chat with you. What's the best way for folks to find you, get in touch, and learn more?
Yeah, you can find us at Stonecrop, www.stonecropadvisors.com. We're on LinkedIn. We have Facebook, but we don't use Facebook much. So yeah, probably the website would be the best place to find us, and we have additional content there as well.
Yeah, so stonecropadvisors.com. Logan MacGray, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.